I'm a woman using dating apps now and have had good luck with dates. I'm told I'm a great conversationalist and make them laugh a lot. I'm very agreeable and easygoing, and dates often last for a couple of hours. However, one thing about me is that I do not feel comfortable with physical intimacy until I feel at ease with a guy, which may take until the third date. On a first date, I am not touchy, do not kiss, and never stay over. How much do men read into this as me not being interested? I like to focus on building a connection first, but I worry that even though men find me physically attractive, my reserved nature on a first date may make them think I am not into them. I prefer to wait until we have more trust and respect established between us. Does this turn you off? Do men appreciate a woman who limits physical intimacy until a relationship is more developed? Edit. This has been so helpful. Thank you. I had a second date yesterday with a guy I like, and he has been respectful with me. Gentle touching but nothing sleazy. Our dates have gone really well. After considering your feedback, I gave more subtle physical hints, such as touching his leg, holding hands, resting my head on his shoulder, and cuddling. It also helped him relax, and he felt more comfortable doing the same. I mentioned casually that I don't get physical early in a relationship, and he thought that was a good thing. I gave him more compliments so he knew how much I enjoyed spending time with him. Story 1. Honestly, I wouldn't mind. As long as we're having a good time and the vibe is right, I would be open to dating again. We barely know each other, and not everyone is comfortable being affectionate with someone who is still essentially a stranger. Story 2. If you're asking men, you're going to receive a variety of responses, from "I wouldn't have a second date" to "That's great and that's what I prefer," with everything in between. Instead of answering, I'll ask this: the fact that I am so reserved on a first date makes them think I am a prude and not into them. Why do you think that? Do they tell you? Are you putting thoughts in their heads and assuming that's what they think? Story 3. As long as you can demonstrate some kind of romantic or sexual interest, it is good. There needs to be some tension, some flirting, and breaking the touch barrier on the first date. Otherwise, it can come off as if she is not interested. She does not need to kiss me or sleep with me, but I need to feel that a part of her at least wants to. In fact, if I hope that she is long-term relationship material, that is the way I prefer it. Story 4. I have a daughter and would encourage her to date like you do. The general rule is that if a guy is not happy with this and loses interest, then he probably just wanted sex anyway, so it's not a loss and it's likely a good thing you avoided him. You can show interest in other ways. If he thinks you are not into him but you are texting that it was a good date and you want to see him again, then he is just not worth your time. Story 5. I also prefer to build emotional intimacy first. Your dating style is something I appreciate when dating women. Story 6. There are no issues with not sleeping together during the first few dates, but I would definitely like a kiss on the first date. I would also appreciate it if a woman, who may not be comfortable with intimacy of any kind on the first date, communicated that she likes me and is interested but would prefer to wait a bit for intimacy. Communication and transparency are essential in this scenario. Story 7. Honest question. Are you ever super attracted to a guy you are on a date with, and if so, does that change anything? If you felt comfortable and safe with him and he was the hottest guy you had seen in years, would you consider kissing on the first date? Or does that not make a difference? Story 8. I prefer to wait on sex, but just touching is a telltale sign a girl is into you. If I wasn't receiving any form of touch, I would think she wasn't interested in me. Story 9. How much do you think guys read into this as me not being interested in you? Depending on the guy, it can range from a little to a deal breaker. If it's only 2 to 3 dates, I wouldn't consider it an issue as long as, first, it's really only 2 to 3 dates depending on the level of physicality. A peck on the cheek is a quick and fairly innocent way to gauge interest. That would definitely raise some questions, but not having sex on the first to third date isn't a deal breaker. Second, there is actual physicality afterward. I don't need you to try anything extreme on the second date, but if we've been on about 10 dates with great chemistry and you're still not comfortable with or initiating touch, I would prefer to find someone who is. Do men even appreciate a woman who limits physical intimacy until more of a relationship is established? No, not at all. What is there to appreciate about holding back? Respect for your discomfort? Sure. Appreciation? Absolutely not. Story 10. I think you are looking at this all wrong. What is the point of a date? To make a guy like you? To get his approval of how you date? Or to find out if a guy you like is worth your time and effort? I expect a lot, probably the majority, of guys will have little to no issue with a girl who doesn't engage physically on a first date. The problem is that rational, reasonable, and respectful guys will take you at face value if you don't do anything to show that you reciprocate their interest, especially if they made moves, large or small, and you rejected them. Even though you can't use your body to communicate your interest and attraction early in a potential relationship, you still have plenty of other options. Stick your neck out and express your continued attraction, approval, or general feelings in a way that is true to your nature. Hold your date's hand, use your words, or do something similar. Remember that guys enjoy romantic attention and interest too. They feel bad when they lose it and feel good when they gain it. They don't enjoy making the moves or putting themselves in that vulnerable position, and they feel pained when they are rejected. So if you do turn him down, take a moment to see it through his eyes. Say, as a matter of policy, I don't engage physically on the first date. Even if a charming celebrity were to sweep me away on an extravagant date, it wouldn't happen. I see why that move works, though. It's not bad. Communicate that you are still on board and interested. Say something nice or validating and remove any ambiguity from the mixed signals. What happens when a guy reacts poorly? It is completely normal for someone to be disappointed if the person they like and are attracted to doesn't want to engage physically with them. But let's say he becomes pushy, manipulative, or unpleasant after you communicated your boundaries effectively. Great. You received an early warning that this guy is not someone you want to date. So take the hint and don't go on a second date. People are often wired to seek approval from pushy or unpleasant individuals. In summary, waiting to engage physically is fine and a good way to weed out unsuitable characters. Just remember that guys are people too. Put yourself in his shoes and consider how the situation would look and feel from his perspective, so you can communicate your continued or lost interest effectively and with empathy, just as you would hope he would do for you. Don't forget to have fun. Once your cards are on the table and you both know you are going to take a step forward, you can enjoy the process. Anticipation is the closest thing to a true aphrodisiac for women more than men, but certainly for men as well, so use it. In this situation, you might say, okay, I'm game. We won't engage until a specific condition is met. Then it becomes an excuse for both of you to get as close to the line as possible without crossing it. You can narrate what you would do while miming the actions, only barely avoiding contact, saying, even if you press me against this wall, breathe deeply into my neck, and move your hands up and down my body, the rules are the rules. Story 11. You are extremely smart, and you should not care if a guy thinks otherwise. In fact, if a guy does not resonate with that, it's a clear indication that he only wants one thing and will most likely not engage further beyond that. Unless you are looking for that as well and are not interested in an actual boyfriend who is worth keeping, do not change your approach at all. Story 12. This is very normal. Honestly, I think many women feel they have to rush it because of pressure from certain individuals. I would bet most women would be more comfortable waiting to have sex for a month or two into a relationship. Story 13. I would prefer the female to be like you rather than the other way around. It is very unusual when someone is willing to spend the night or engage in any intimate activities after the first date. Story 14. If you're not showing physical intimacy, such as a kiss after the first date, but are interested in a second date, make sure you communicate that you are still interested. This is how my last relationship started. We didn't kiss on the first date, which didn't bother me because she made it clear she liked me and wanted a second date. She told me when she was free next, which made it easy to plan and coordinate our next outing. Had she not communicated this and expected me to reach out first, I would have assumed she was not interested. Just make it clear that you are taking things slow. If they reciprocate, then you will know they are interested as well. Story 15. Nothing is wrong with it, and I prefer it. My current girlfriend used to date frequently and didn't mind hookups until she met someone worth dating. She felt she was just doing what people do, and I respect her right to do whatever she wants with her body. However, we had different values. I preferred to wait. To me, even kissing on a first date feels like kissing a stranger. It just feels weird. So, it was a bit of a red flag for me that she may have some underlying issues, or maybe she just enjoys sex, which is fine too. Turns out it was a bit of both. But I don't think a guy would mind if you told him, I had a great time and would like to see you again, but I prefer to take things slow. If he is serious about you, he won't mind waiting, and if he is not, you will have weeded him out that much sooner. Story 16. That's where my mind goes, honestly. I can have a great conversation with anyone, but physical touch is what makes me feel like someone is actually interested in me. It's not required, certainly, but if the girl I'm on a date with doesn't even want a hug, then I take that as disinterest or that she doesn't find me attractive. Just make it clear from the beginning what your boundaries are, and it will take the pressure off. There's nothing worse than going for a hug or kiss thinking the other person is into you, only to have them recoil and leave you wondering why. Story 17. I would like to see some indication that it might go somewhere. A first date being somewhat standoffish and reserved is understandable. However, if there are no signs of physical attraction by the second date, I would be less inclined to pursue it. Story 18 sounds lovely. You have self-respect and are realistic about what it takes to truly be intimate with someone. I'm sure you will find a good man and make him very happy. Story 19. Good for you. Keep it up. This method will help you identify boys who are only interested in your physical appearance rather than appreciating you as a whole person. However, after the first date, consider offering to contribute to the bill so that the guy doesn't feel like he is being used just for a meal or good time at his expense. Story 20. It depends. There can be some sexual tension without touching. If there is none and you aren't clear about your intentions, I would probably take my loss and assume we are just friends. Your limits and feelings are completely valid. Just realize that turning hanging out into dating might take some effort. A guy will probably make a move and you can't really be upset. Simply decline politely and explain your boundaries. I once dated a girl who had some unusual reservations. I explained that I was fine with her having boundaries, but I found it difficult to judge the balance. We had two options. I could make moves and risk overestimating the current state, or she could take charge and express her readiness or desires. She understood, and we ended up dating for 2 years. Story 21. I have been on about 5 dates with different people. 2 girls I know were similar to you, while the other 3 were not. Honestly, either way is fine by me, but please make your intentions clear and avoid coming off as snobby. If you express these things in a way that suggests you are too good for the man or that you are better than him, it will cause him to lose all interest in pursuing you. However, if you communicate in a down-to-earth manner, it should not bother him at all. Story 22. Sounds almost perfect. Some gentle touching on the first date is nice, like holding hands or a light touch on the arm or back, as long as it feels natural. This signals that she's interested in you and is comfortable with physical contact, which is an important part of dating. However, I prefer a girl who is not overly touchy, and especially not one who seeks a physical relationship on the first date. Story 23. No, it doesn't turn me off. However, if there is no intimacy in the dating process, I will assume she thinks we are friends and will date other women in the meantime until she figures herself out. Story 24. Sometimes we connect and can be intimate right away, while other times we need to gauge the vibe first. Everyone is different, so it doesn't bother me. Story 25. Personally, it's not a turnoff for me. Your boundaries are your boundaries, and they should be respected. I would want a stronger mental connection and work on an emotional connection to start with anyway. Story 26. I would prefer it. I'm a no sex till the end of the third date person, and any offer on the first or second date makes me question their seriousness in the relationship, as I've been taken advantage of before. Story 27. I think what you are describing is a very normal and healthy way to approach physical intimacy. I have been physically intimate with people I have known for 30 minutes and with those I had known for around 6 dates. I would say the most common is 2 to 4 dates. If it goes beyond that, I tend to lose interest. My first dates are usually something simple like coffee or a drink on a weekday, where it feels entirely normal not to be touchy or physically intimate. It might get a bit more uncomfortable if one person bluntly asks to get more intimate while the other has to accept or reject this advance. Personally, I prefer a slow escalation to gauge the situation without having to make a weighty decision about intimacy. You mentioned sleeping over but rejecting sex in one of your replies. Don't do that. I cannot speak for all cultures, but in my city, if you are lying down with someone in bed after a date, it is generally assumed that some kind of sexual contact is expected. Obviously, both people should still give consent. If you want to sleep with someone without having sex, make that clear up front. If you find yourself frequently having to reject guys who are trying to be more intimate on dates, consider making the setting of your dates less intimate by choosing a daytime public location. Story 28. I think it is typical that most women are reserved early on when meeting a man. It takes a while for them to determine if you are a safe person to let their guard down. Most reasonable men will understand that. Additionally, there should be no kissing or intimacy until I am sure you are healthy. Story 29. I'm a guy and I feel the same way. I'm kind of shying away from dating because of it. There's not really a one-size-fits-all answer. You just have to find the right person. Story 30. I actually prefer that now that I am older. In my 20s, I would not hesitate to jump into bed with a girl the same night I met her. But that led to a series of very questionable relationships that made me much more reserved in my 30s. I definitely need to get a good feel for someone's personality and learn a bit about her before getting physical now. Story 31. I wouldn't mind, but I would like to see something that shows whether you're interested or not. Even a simple "it was fun to see you" with a smile would be nice. Story 32. The first date is about getting to know each other. The second date is to confirm whether there is a spark. The third date is when it may become physical or not. If it does not, there should be reasons. If there is an immediate spark and it becomes physical on the first date, that is good. It sometimes happens, but it is a bonus. If both individuals intend for nothing but a physical connection on the first date, that is great, but it is a different type of date. Story 33. It kind of turns me on. I would love to date someone who wants to maintain a distance until we know each other better. I want to be stimulated intellectually before physically. I would like to know that I could be your friend before anything else. I would happily shake your hand and thank you for a great conversation. Maybe a handshake for the first date, a hug for the second date, and a kiss whenever it feels right. I might be unusual. Sex is not my goal, friendship is. I might also be an anticipation enthusiast. Story 34. Usually just a greeting and goodbye hug on the first date. I will ask ahead of time if they're comfortable with this. Story 35. Because it is in their best interest to be physically reserved. They do not know what we have planned. Story 36. If you want to spend time with me and sometimes suggest going out together, it's clear that you're interested. That's enough. Story 37. I prefer a modest and reserved girl. I don't attempt to go in for a kiss until the second or third date. Do not feel like you have to have intimate relations on the first or even second date if you aren't comfortable with it. Story 38. The beginning involves getting to know someone. In that same line of thinking, I might go a few dates without a kiss, but after the third or fourth date, I can relax enough to show public displays of affection. On the other hand, sex is not a planned event. It will happen when it happens. Story 39. As a man, if I want something serious, I never touch a girl on the first date unless she wants to give a hug to say goodbye. The thing is, if you're watching dating coaches, they teach to touch a girl gently on the first date so you won't fall into the friend zone. I guess some guys just want to use that technique. Some people have different love languages. Some men require physical touch to feel connected, while others may touch to charm you. Different men have different purposes. Story 40. I wouldn't engage for the first 3 months either. I need to know her first and have built that emotional connection. Story 41. Honestly, this is how I date as a man. It has never steered me wrong. Sure, there were women who said I should have kissed them on the first date, but that's not really me. Some men would definitely respect this approach. Story 42. I do not expect a kiss on the first date, but a lack of physical touch indicates to me that she is not interested. That said, physical touch is my love language if I understand that concept correctly, so it is important to me. For another person, it could be less important. Story 43. If a girl wants to jump into bed right away, I think she is probably doing that with others as well, and as soon as I realized that, it became a turnoff. I believe that if a guy isn't connecting with you and reciprocating, he isn't worth your time. Story 44. That's fine. Some men have similar values. Some men only think with their desires, and it is probably better to avoid them if you're not interested in casual relationships. Story 45. It's a good sign. She isn't just any woman opening up to anyone. This suggests there are high chances of her being loyal to the end. If she engages in a sexual relationship with you, it means she truly loves you. Story 46. I am a bisexual man and polyamorous. The stereotype would be that I would rush into bed, but I take a minimum of a month, no matter what, of dates and spending time before sleeping with someone. I mention this on my profile to manage expectations, as some people expect to be intimate on the first date. Story 47. Yes, no one owes anyone physical contact. Many people today feel entitled and expect that a date should involve immediate physical intimacy. If someone cannot respect your perspective on this right away, that is their problem. In short, no, it is not a turn-off. I respect someone who stands by their beliefs. So, highest of 5 to you. Story 48. I prefer online dating, as dating can be strange. I would rather establish a connection first before becoming physically involved. Story 49. How much do you read into this as me not being interested in you? I don't. I expect this, and if you are the type that would think that, then there likely wouldn't be a second meeting. Story 50. If a girl doesn't touch, kiss, and have sex on the first date, a second date will likely not happen with me. It's not because I'm worried she has no interest in me, but because I would lose interest in her. I date for one of two reasons: to achieve a sexual relationship or to find a girlfriend. At my age of 42, it's clear during the first date whether there's potential or interest in either of those two outcomes. If there is, then there's no reason to hold back. Story 51. As a guy, I don't want to go too far on a first date or two. I want to get to know someone to see if that is someone I would even want to be with. This comes after the lengthy process it takes to go on a date. Story 52. It depends on the person. I personally don't like to get more physical than a hug for several dates. Hugs are nice, but I need to trust my partner before I can become intimate, and honestly, the physical desire isn't there until the trust is established. Story 53. Perfectly fine. I wouldn't expect much physical contact on the first date anyway, but maybe I am unusual. Story 54. As long as you make it clear you are still interested, it is not a big deal. If a woman refused or showed no indication of wanting a kiss or any kind of physical contact, my immediate thought would be that she was not interested in me, and I would look to move on. Story 55. Show interest in other ways. Be the one to propose the second date or even plan it out. Lean into non-physical intimacy, but include physical expression. Maintain eye contact while listening, and offer a big smile for no reason. Discuss how amazing it is to experience intimacy with someone you know and trust, and how different it feels with someone you don't know well. Bring these topics up naturally, and maintain appropriate boundaries during interactions. Story 56. My current girlfriend is like this. On our first date, I could tell she wasn't very comfortable with physical touch. I asked her at the end of the date if she kisses on the first date. She said she doesn't, and I replied that I guess there would have to be a second date then. She expressed a lot of interest in having a second date. If she hadn't shown interest, I would have moved on. On the second date, I did get a kiss. If I didn't have any physical affection, at least a kiss by the third date, I would have moved on because, for me, that would indicate incompatibility, as I prefer physical affection as a love language. In summary, show interest even if you don't want to get physical right away. Demonstrating interest can simply mean you need some time to warm up. Story 57. I think I've found a good woman. It's as simple as that. She is well-adjusted and doesn't lead with her appearance. If she is cute and a bookworm, I am very interested. However, I am getting off topic. Not every guy who appreciates modesty is a misogynistic jerk. You're okay. Story 58. I don't think you're doing anything that a respectful man would find off-putting. It may be that you're connecting with men who use dating apps for casual encounters and hope you'd be another casual connection. You're not missing out on much apart from disappointment and heartache. A third date becoming physically intimate would be early for me, but that's just my perspective. However, turning that down wouldn't be likely either because it's afterward that the potential for something long-term can be assessed. Story 59. Does this turn you off? No. Do men even appreciate a woman who limits physical intimacy until more of a relationship is established? Also no. But if you're not comfortable, then you're not comfortable, and I would respect that. Although some of the best relationships I've had were with people I was intimate with on the first date, I understand that not everyone feels comfortable doing it soon, and that's totally okay. Story 60. I'll assume you're not interested in me unless you genuinely express interest in seeing me again. I prefer direct communication rather than passive comments like, "Oh, I'm not doing anything this weekend." If you're not expressing physical interest and not actively saying, "Yes, I want to do this and that with you," then you've essentially convinced me that you're not interested. Story 61. I understand the importance of taking things slow, but if she isn't touching me at all, I will assume she is not attracted to me. Story 62. If you don't show interest in us, we are not going to keep investing in you. Men value sex, whereas women value resources. We men wine and dine you, showing you ways that you are special to us. However, if you are not invested in him or show him any interest, it feels as if you only want his resources. This doesn't mean you need to be intimate on the first date, but there should be some investment. If we go on several dates and nothing happens, it signals to me that you are only interested in my resources. Story 63. Do men appreciate a woman who limits physical intimacy until a deeper relationship is established? I want to, but I have generally found that women who do not show physical attraction on the first date often end up being a waste of time for me. It is easy to spend 3 or more dates, each lasting a couple of hours, only to end up in the friend zone. You don't have to sleep over or even kiss on the first date, but I think it's worth showing some physical attraction, like holding hands or a good hug, if you are genuinely attracted. Story 64. What you want is not unreasonable. What you posted indicates you have a problem getting that message across to your dates. Are you selecting your dates based on what? Are you part of the fantasy crowd, meaning you are a 6 or 7 acting like a 10 and seeking an alpha male? If withholding physicality until you get to know a guy is your preference, you need to make that perfectly clear from the beginning and not just assume through your self-acclaimed great conversational skills that they will somehow pick up on this. If you keep running into this issue, reality suggests you might be the problem. No touching until the third date? I understand that boundary. Let me ask you this. Did you pay for or arrange date 1, 2, etc.? If not, perhaps you are being perceived as a woman who uses intimacy as currency, and that is a major red flag for any man with self-respect these days. In today's hookup culture, a woman's sexuality is no longer considered a prize. Rather, it has been reduced to a commodity, and this has been established by the behavior of women, not men. Story 65. Nothing is wrong with how you feel. You are entitled to set your boundaries. It may be difficult to tolerate the uncertainty that comes with it, and that is okay. You do not need to make that feeling disappear. This approach can help you filter out less durable relationships, so there is value in it. However, it won't necessarily be free from doubt or worry, and that is acceptable. If you are having an enjoyable time together and are concerned about them getting the wrong impression, just communicate. Many relationship problems can be resolved through basic communication, but I understand that this can bring fear and anxiety. Story 66. If we don't know each other very well, that's understandable, especially if you were already that way when making friends. On a first date, I would think you're just a bit shy or new to being intimate and showing affection, whether physical or otherwise, especially if you're dating someone you have never met before or know very little about. It's different if you've been around someone for a while and know them pretty well. The intent might shift from being friendly and aloof to romantic and intimate. For a first date, keeping your distance is understandable. It may feel cold, but you're just gauging your comfort levels and theirs. Take your time, but do try to be a bit warmer and closer to guys over time. If you remain cold, We might assume you're just not into us or that you're assuming something negative about us but don't want to ask for some reason. It can make us feel self-conscious if we genuinely want to get to know you, but you don't show us that you want to learn about us or have us learn about you. Some guys will make that assumption if they don't think they are that into you either. There are levels of comfort between people, and sometimes you can't easily judge that or know your comfort level with each other without some time. Building trust is essential in many relationships, whether romantic or platonic. You start with a basic level of trust with strangers, which can either increase over time or diminish. It's possible to gain and then lose trust or vice versa. You have to start with, okay, I will trust you with this for now and see how it goes. Both of you will be gauging each other's trust levels. You might have to wait, test it little by little, or, if worse comes to worst, walk away. I think I would understand initially being lukewarm towards someone, but if that doesn't change over time, I might assume you're not interested. If you are cold, there may have been a misunderstanding, or one of us may have done something wrong in the relationship. If you are warm toward each other, things likely are going well. Some men appreciate a woman who limits physical intimacy until more of a relationship is established. Some prefer physical intimacy, while others prefer knowing they are being listened to or feel like they are someone you want to go to for comfort. Just being around the guy, even without talking or being very physical, can be a nice feeling. Limiting physical intimacy initially makes sense to some, and it can be good to take small steps toward being more intimate and physical over time. Go at your own pace. It's not a race or a marathon, but taking some steps from time to see where you both are at can be beneficial. Story 67. I don't know if it's just me, but I find it more attractive in a woman. It builds tension and excitement. If there is chemistry, you don't need to touch on a first date. I hope you find the right person for you. Story 68. I think it's difficult for guys to understand whether you just want to connect more or if you are not interested. It would make it easier for them to understand the situation if you were honest with them. If you explained that it might take time for you to feel comfortable with physical touch or kissing, it would help. The thing is that girls vary widely, and you never know what to expect. If they have a problem with taking it slow, they are not the right person for you. I personally believe that it is good for both of you to go on a few dates to get to know each other before escalating things. Good luck. Story 69. It is a good reason to go on more dates. I have a reputation as a great hugger, but I do not initiate a hug on a first date, and I do not go for a kiss on a first date either. The purpose of a good first date is to determine if you want to go on a second. If I kissed or became more intimate with someone I do not enjoy spending time with, I would feel ashamed, so I prefer to focus on the initial connection first. It seems that you and I are a rarer breed nowadays, but that is okay. Keep moving forward, and good luck. Story 70. The type of man who expects to sleep with you on the first date is not a suitable match for you. Instead of changing your behavior, you should adjust your expectations and standards for what to seek in a man who is a good match for you. The kind of man you would consider marrying is likely to share a similar outlook on this topic. Story 71. Generally, I like to make some progress on a first date, as it feels like the other person is interested in me. If I don't, I feel like they aren't interested, to be honest. Story 72. I wouldn't mind, but if I leaned in for a kiss at the end of the date and you rejected it, I would probably bring this up by saying, hey, I'm into you, I just like to take things slow physically, if that's okay. I would love to see you again. If you just reject the guy and say nothing, I would personally take that as a sign that you're not interested. Story 73. I believe it is important to establish your boundaries as early as possible. There is nothing wrong with having them, and it is completely fair to do so. If I am being completely honest, I would not be concerned at all, as it is a sign that you want to play the long game. If you and the other person are moving at different paces, then that is a delicate situation to navigate. Story 74. If you don't give any indicators that you are attracted, I might assume that you are not attracted. That said, I do not know what your conversations are like, so I cannot tell you if you are doing this. Touching and kissing are not the only ways to display interest. As long as you are giving other signs of interest, I think it is fine. Story 75. I am here. When I was dating, I didn't feel comfortable being affectionate unless I felt safe with her. If a woman was being physical on the first date, it would immediately turn me off. We barely know each other, and you're saying you love me? No thanks. Story 76. To be honest, most women give up some level of physical intimacy on the first date. This is not to say sex, but it could include kissing, hugging, or even holding hands. When it doesn't happen, I don't think, oh, she was just a bit of a prude. If she isn't giving any physical signs at all, I think, she wasn't into me. And that will likely be our last date. Story 77. As long as some form of this is communicated at some point, then that is fine and even preferable for me. I try to avoid going past boundaries, but as a man, I am generally expected to be the initiator. If an advance is refused, I back off because I believe people will only refuse if they are uncomfortable. Usually, I will discuss what boundaries look like afterward. Story 78. To be totally honest, I thought that no kiss was usually expected until at least the second date. Hand-holding might happen on the first date or between the first and second dates. A sleepover felt like a third date activity at a minimum. If anyone demands any of these things from you, which apparently hasn't happened, I'm truly happy for you. They are not suitable dating material. Story 79. You sound similar to my wife. She made it very clear when we started dating that there wouldn't be anything physical for a while. Boundaries show self-control, and I immediately respected her. I doubt I would have taken her seriously if she had been open to intimacy on the first or second date. I would have gladly participated, but I wouldn't have pursued anything more than a short-term fling. We hugged on the second date and kissed on the third. We were both very busy, so the third date was probably a month after we met. In hindsight, neither of us was seeing anyone else. After that third date, everything accelerated. We have been together for almost 10 years and married for almost 5. Interestingly, when both people respect each other, things can move very quickly and be very stable. Your attitudes toward dating and self-respect are admirable. You will come across individuals who are offended and may even be unpleasant about it. But I can confidently say that you are the type of woman that men who are serious about finding a life partner are looking for. Stick to your values. Good for you. Story 80. I would like you to share this information if you are interested in going on more dates. Just tell the guy what you will and will not do, and what makes you comfortable. The turnoff is when I feel we are connecting but I am not receiving any feedback, such as any kind of touching from you. Even slight touching can mean a lot to a guy. Recently, I was seeing a woman, and I always make it a point to avoid making a move unless I receive a sign that she is interested in me. Let's just say this woman gave me no signs. She came over often and visited me when I got off work, but I could not determine if she was attracted to me, as she never touched me outside of a hug when we finished hanging out. Story 81. In my experience, getting to know each other and building a foundation before engaging is always better than jumping right in. Story 82. I believe most men like to feel physically attractive and wanted. This can be achieved through physical intimacy or in other ways. You can express appreciation by saying, "I love your eyes," or "I love your arms." In my experience, it's not that men want sex early. Rather, they don't want to waste time with someone who isn't attracted to them. Story 83. When you settle down with your future husband, he will be grateful that you didn't sleep with men on the first date, likely lowering your body count by 80% compared to most women. Story 84. I think I'm awkward and would like to hold hands, but your attitude makes me feel secure about you because I want a genuine connection as well. I don't enjoy physical intimacy or affection without a real connection. A third date is totally fine. However, waiting 2 to 3 months would leave me feeling flustered. Story 85. Communication is key. No sleeping on the first date. For most decent guys, this is a positive approach, but you may encounter several who will try to initiate a hug or some form of platonic physical connection, such as a hand on your arm. Guys are accustomed to rejection, so if you act standoffish, it's normal. If you reject a hug or similar gesture, it's wise to follow up with an explanation if you want them to consider a second date. This doesn't need to be a lengthy explanation, just something like, "Hey, I like you, and this is going well, but I'm not comfortable with physical affection just yet. I would need to understand your definition of not touchy to form an opinion. To be clear, you should do what feels right for you, and there will be someone out there who is aligned with your preferences." However, if not touchy means no physical contact at all, you may miss out on some dates. Personally, I always go for a small hug or a light touch on the arm when I first meet someone in person to ease that initial awkwardness. It also helps gauge the connection. I've had a few failed relationships where there was no physical contact after some time, and I was apprehensive about returning to that dynamic. Now that I'm married, I informed my wife on our first date that physical intimacy is one of the most important aspects for me. Again, I can't stress this enough. This is just my perspective. If physical touch is something you find difficult at the beginning or overall, you must be upfront about it to avoid miscommunication. Ultimately, your preferences, your body, and your opinions matter. Just don't be surprised if some guy you're interested in feels put off by that. Story 86. I wouldn't mind, and honestly, I'd rather find someone to hang out with and talk about things if I were on an actual date and looking for a relationship. I would wait quite a while for a woman with whom I thought there was some potential. Story 87. This is likely due to my autism, but I am honestly put off by a girl being touchy on the first date, if that is what you mean. If we knew each other for a long time and had established trust as friends, then I would be fine with it on the first date. Just ask, though. Getting touched without warning seems to trigger me. In the end, it really depends on the individual, so it's probably best to ask beforehand and clarify what you mean to avoid miscommunication. Story 88. I would respect it. Every girl is different, so I don't have any expectations on earlier dates. Figuring out her boundaries and expectations in dating makes it easy to avoid misreading anything. In my experience, women usually communicate what they want and don't want. You just have to create an atmosphere that makes them feel safe and confident in expressing their thoughts. I usually try to kiss a girl during the earlier dates to establish my intentions with her. If I'm dating you, it means I think you're special. On dates 1 to 3, I don't mean making out, just a kiss. I'll do it to show that I'm attracted to her and see her as more than just a friend. If she declines the kiss, that's completely fine, but now she knows. I don't start to interpret it until I've known her for about a month and we've been on several dates, 30 or more days of texting or hanging out, in addition to one-on-one dates. After that, it may become clear that she's not attracted to me or that we aren't compatible on an intimate level, which is completely acceptable. This is my perspective. I wouldn't use it to judge any other guy. Story 89. I imagine this could be evenly split among men. If you are cautious or reserved in that way, which is perfectly fine with me, you could let them know verbally or by text that you like them and would like another date. I don't think you need to always explain. Men should not expect anything physical early on, but many do because they seek female attention. Story 90. I think it's usually easy to understand when a kiss, hug, or proposition is appropriate. If she declines, no hard feelings, but I probably won't be coming back to try again. We clearly have a disconnect somewhere. There's nothing wrong with that. It was nice meeting you. Story 91. If a girl doesn't want to at least kiss on the first date, I assume she is not interested and move on. Story 92. I never take a woman's word for anything. If she says she is interested but her actions say otherwise, I will move on quickly. Story 93. At this point, I find it refreshing. Women seem too available nowadays, which makes one wonder if they are doing this with every man. Story 94. What you are asking isn't unreasonable. Many men, not all, would wait longer than you are asking for. However, many men equate physical rejection with emotional rejection. If you are rejecting them physically, ensure your intentions are clear. You do like them but would prefer to wait before becoming physically intimate. Otherwise, they may assume your physical rejection is a complete rejection and choose not to continue the relationship. Story 95. This is a timely question for me. Last week, I went on a date with a woman who might be considered physically reserved. She held her hands behind her back to avoid me trying to hold them, moved a bit away from me when we were sitting next to each other, and didn't reciprocate any touch. The conversation we had was good, though. As a result, I didn't try for a kiss and didn't pursue a second date. It really depends. But to me, I think she just wasn't interested. In similar situations, I typically cut my losses. Story 96. It means you respect yourself and are likely someone who doesn't struggle with pair bonding, as you take intimacy very seriously. Story 97. Unless they are looking for a casual encounter, I think most men are content with developing a relationship over several dates. Personally, if I had a wonderful time on a date with you, I would be excited about intimacy, but it would not be my top priority. I would simply be thrilled to have met someone I connect with so well and would want to do it again. Story 98. I don't mind waiting for intimacy, but I would be concerned if someone wasn't even comfortable holding my hand after a month. It would feel like she was closing herself off and didn't really want to be there. Story 99. I prefer it for a first date. However, something as simple as touching my leg or shoulder at some point during the date goes a long way. Story 100. Nothing physical should happen on the first date, maybe just a hug goodnight. I would be turned off if a girl wanted anything more than that on the first or second date. Story 101. If there is not at least a kiss at the end of a first date, there will not be a second. It is not about reading into anything. A kiss at the end of a first date is a social convention from the 1950s. If a woman is more prudish than the average person from that era, I am not interested. Story 102. If you are attracted to a person and have a genuine desire to be with them, but hold back for cultural, religious, or moral reasons, it signals a serious concern. I will wonder what other aspects of your life you might also restrain despite genuinely wanting to pursue them. Are you in charge of your life and body, or do you simply follow others' opinions? This behavior can come off as insecure and weak. On the other hand, if you are not attracted to the person and have not developed a genuine desire for them, then holding back is appropriate. It shows that you are strong and in command of your body and emotions. It is generally easy to discern if someone is attracted to you and genuinely desires you, so attempting to conceal it may make you appear foolish. Story 103. I would assume she wasn't interested and would ignore her. If we are not already friends before the date, then my only interest is in a physical relationship. I do not want to waste time on individuals who are not willing to engage. Story 104. Personally, I have had multiple bad experiences with women who weren't physical in any way on the first date. These experiences resulted in relationships with little sexual chemistry, often involving inexperienced and poor communicators in the bedroom, and they had a skewed understanding of gender dynamics. I recognize that there are many women who prefer to wait a bit, like yourself. However, when I go on a date with someone who withholds all physical affection until an emotional bond is formed, I see a potential problem, a possible disconnect between what I'm looking for and what you are looking for. You'll do fine. There are many men who won't have any issue with taking things at your pace. Don't tolerate any pressure to do something you don't want to do. Story 105. If a woman is comfortable having a conversation with me about deeper topics but not comfortable sitting near me, there have been dates she has had with men in the past that she was attracted to, where she felt comfortable sitting near them. This suggests that we get along, but she is simply not attracted to me. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.